Mykola Kuleba to take the floor for 5 minutes, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for this opportunity.
I am sorry, Mr. Mykola Kuleba. We are not familiar with the name. Sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity. And today, I speak to you about a tragedy that transcends borders, the plight of Ukrainian children. Nearly 50% of the population of children in Ukraine have been displaced, deported, or lost to Russia's war on Ukraine. These children are not just numbers. Half of our children are at risk, and with it, our very future and the very soul of our nation. For our children still in Ukraine, around 1.6 million of those living in Russia and occupied territories have been subjected to relentless indoctrination and medieval colonization by the Kremlin since 2014. They are forced to adopt Russian language, culture, values, and traditions, stripping them to their Ukrainian identities and fostering loyalty to the occupying power, including eventually forced conscription to the Russian armed forces. Only 19,546 have been officially identified as forcibly deported since the full-scale invasion, which is a huge number, but still inaccurate, and as such underscores the vast scale of this atrocity and the urgent need for action to locate and return these children. In occupied territories, schools erase Ukrainian history, calling our country a failed state. Children as young as 6 are enrolled in militarized programs, dressed in Russian uniforms, and raised to hate the West. Many frontline Russian fighters today were once Ukrainian children, molded by this propaganda since 2014. A 10-year-old boy then is now a 20-year Russian soldier. Even more alarming is the forced conscription of Ukrainian boys as young as 17 from the territories occupied since 2022. These boys, coerced into accepting Russian passports, are turned into soldiers for the aggressor state. This process violates a number of international instruments, including the Geneva Convention, as it represents a deliberate strategy to use young Ukrainians as a weapon against their own people. Consider Sergei, 17 years old, forced to accept a Russian passport under threat of losing his property soon after armed soldiers issued him a draft notice at gunpoint. With our help, Sergei escaped, but many others remain trapped in this horrifying cycle. All these actions bear the signs of genocide. Thousands of Ukrainian children are being systematically turned into instruments of war, victims of a conflict they never choose. At Save Ukraine, we fight to save these children and preserve an entire generation. We have rescued over 500 children, providing trauma-informed, child-sensitive, and evidence-based care to heal the deep scars of war and propaganda and indoctrination. Our services reintegrate these rescued children and families into society, helping them rebuild their lives and reclaim their identity. But we cannot do this alone. Canada has shown the world the power, responsibility, and leadership. Your support across parties has been pivotal, from leading coalitions to return deported children to partnership with HALA system for child identification and returning some of them. We also deeply appreciate the Ukrainian diaspora, Ukrainian Children Congress, and organizations like the Canada-Ukraine Foundation and Timothy Foundation for their unwavering support. Every child saved is a future restored. Together, we can ensure no Ukrainian children left behind, no identity erased, no dream stolen. I look forward to the question to follow. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And now I would like to invite Madame Veronika Sheldageva to take the floor for 5 minutes, please.
Hello, dear committee. My name is Veronika Sheldageva. I'm 17 years old. I'm from Kherson, a city in Ukraine that was military occupied by Russians in March 2022 when I was 13. I lived under the military occupation for 7 months. I'm here to speak because I escaped, but many are not. At the beginning of occupation, people took to the streets to protest against the invasion, against Russia. My teachers and friends were among those who protested, but then Russians started shooting them at protests. In the early days, people, instead of panic, emptied all food from shops, and later food was rarely replemented. Some farmers from villages attempted to bring in provisions, but the Russians halved them at checkpoints and halved from their supplies. The queues for bread were endless. My parents were in those queues for a long time. We couldn't find toothpaste anywhere, and yes, was being exchanged by people as if it was as valuable as gold. I remember how my parents used to divide groceries at home to make them last as long as possible, and that would be enough for everyone. At checkpoints and even on the streets, Russian soldiers would check people's phones. If they found anything pro-Ukrainian, they would send people to their makeshift prisons. We called this being taken to the cellar. During occupation, I ran my own volunteer educational online project. One day, an unknown woman messaged me on Telegram and said that it was clear from my post that I had pro-Ukrainian position and that I should follow certain safety rules. I was scared because if some stranger found my contact, anyone can do it. People there live in such a paranoid state constantly. In early months, Ukrainian communication networks were already blocked. For a while, people entirely lived without communication, which is very difficult for a modern person. We couldn't even find out about the danger because there was no air alarm in the city. It was a state of complete uncertainty. The Russians held a pseudo-referendum going door to door with guns and balloons. Obviously, those who refused to participate were in great danger. Yes, with weapons in their hands, Russians even came to my relative's apartment. Soldiers also came to my school and scared our management to force them to their side. They told the parents that if their children refused to attend the occupied schools under Russian curriculum full of propaganda, they would be deprived of their parental rights, and the children will be sent in internet. At the same time, school activities at such schools for some people whom I know ended being deported to Russia without their consent. I didn't go to that school, so I was afraid that I could be taken away. When someone knocked at the door, I used to hide. Eventually, my family and I decided to leave. There was never a safe way out of the occupied territories. We were scared to leave, but it was equally risky to remain there. It was a road during 1 week. The occupation authorities organized metal rafts that were pulled across the Dnieper River by the motorboats. It was very risky construction. After my family and I used it, a rocket hit it within half an hour. Now I live on other side of the front line, and nothing of this is in my life anymore. All that left in memories that, despite of honors, I live with, and I believe in the world that helps Ukraine. I believe in Ukraine. I believe in Ukrainian teenagers. We fight. We do a lot of things. We believe and we are strong. Thank you.
Thank you. Je vous remercie pour vos déclarations.
I thank you for your statements.
Start the debate for questions.